Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Green Room for DisrupTV. I'm here with my amazing co-host and co-founder, Vala Afshar. He's the chief evangelist at Salesforce, with my producer, Elle, of course. And we've got some great guests here today. Let's introduce them in reverse order of appearance. John Nosta, where are you coming in from? What are we talking about today?
Hey, we are going to talk about cognitive surrender and iterative intelligence, the two most important aspects of AI confronting humanity today. And I'm coming from the beautiful Pocono Pines area of the Poconos at the lake house.
Ooh, save me from agency and autonomy. Just kidding.
You got it.
We got it. All right. Let's bring on Dave Wright, Brian Solis. Dave, where are you coming in from today?
I am coming in from San Diego. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at ServiceNow. And we're going to be talking about a book that me and Brian worked on called Infinite, talking about how people can actually use AI to improve business, not just automate the past.
Excellent. Very cool. Brian, where are you coming in from? What are you doing? Are you on the surf?
I'm coming in from San Clemente. I just finished surfing in my dreams, and I mean, it has been 30-something years since I've surfed, and I don't think I could do it again. But we are talking about, as Dave said, Infinite, and looking forward to the conversation. Good to see everyone.
We are so excited about Infinite. And if you do see some guy named Mark Cheese surfing out on the thing, he's my god brother. So say hi to him in San Clemente. So, all right, with that, let's do the count, Elle, and we'll kick off the show.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us on DisrupTV. My name is Vala Afshar. I'm the Chief Evangelist at Salesforce and your co-host for the next hour. It's my pleasure to introduce my co-host, which I haven't seen for a couple of weeks. Ray Wang. He's the CEO, founder of Constellation Research. He's the best-selling author of Everybody Wants to Rule the World. I see Ray on TV, just feels like every day, but it's mostly probably every other day. Fox Business, CNBC, Bloomberg, CNN. He's, in my humble opinion, one of the top futurists to follow on X at RWANG0. Welcome, Mr. Wang. Nice to see you.
It's so nice to see you. Welcome back. I'm here with Vala Afshar, the Chief Evangelist for Salesforce. He's also the author of multiple books, including Boundless and, of course, Autonomous. If you don't carry these books with you like I do, I don't know what you're doing in life. But more importantly, if you know, he's also one of the most quoted individuals I know. Executives around the world are actually, catching his attention with his inspirational keynotes. He's out there, and when he's not hosting, keynoting, or leading events at Salesforce, you can find him on business TV outlets such as Bloomberg, ABC, and of course, writing amazing articles on ZDNet. He's also one of the top keynote speakers in the world, but not to say Brian and Dave are not, because they definitely are too. So, but who do we have to kick it off today with their new book?
Ray, we have two innovation pioneers. We have a 9-time best-selling author, Brian Solis, David Wright, co-authors of a new book. The book just came out a couple of months ago in June, Infinite, How Visionary Leaders Transform Today's Business into AI-Forward Companies, which we're going to talk about on our show. Brian serves as the head of global innovation and futures at ServiceNow. Again, 9-time best-selling author. Ray, you and I need to step up our game.
9 times, man. 9 times.
Brian has published industry publications such as Harvard Business Review, Fast Company, CIO, Forbes, all the publications we read. He has consistently been recognized as one of the world's leading thinkers in innovation, business transformation, and leadership for nearly 3 decades. He started the journey in his 10. His online network reaches over 700,000 business leaders around the world. Welcome back, Brian. Good to see you.
Wow. It is, not to mention just one of the titles there that you left out was big fan of Ray and Vala. And just, I don't even want to say how many years we've known each other, but thank you for having me back on the show.
Congratulations, man. You're a content creating machine. And co-author as Chief Innovation Officer at ServiceNow, Dave Wright explores how AI and emerging technologies can reshape business and work. Innovation is just part of Dave's job title, is foundation for every conversation he has with customers. One of his superpowers, we know, is getting to the core of customers' challenges, questioning business as usual, and imagining a future where enterprise can create new value through business transformation, which is unlike any other time, certainly in my career, with this technology. With nearly 30 years in the IT industry and over a decade plus tenure at ServiceNow, Dave has held various leadership positions, including Chief Strategy Officer and Global Vice President of Solutions Consulting. Welcome, Dave, to DisrupTV.
No, thanks for having me. I never thought I'd feel so inferior for only having one book, but there you go. Brian, I admire you holding back. I'm not saying you're actually a 10 times best-selling author now, but good
yeah, I can't keep up with Brian's achievements.
I know he hit that magic number. I think X, but I think there is a book called X. So
that's right. That's right. But to Dave's credit, he is now a first-time best-selling author,
this is true.
and hit it out of the park on his first try.
I might stop while I'm ahead, though.
Oh no! I thought about that, and then I didn't want to be a one-hit wonder, so I had to write a second book, and now I got to write a third book. This is what I'm doing like this weekend. Yeah, it's horrible. But hey, everyone is talking about AI transformation, but you argue that this moment is really about business reinvention. I totally agree. What's the difference, and what does this distinction matter now? Brian, Dave, who wants to go first here?
Dave, go for it.
All right. So speak to loads of customers all the time, all these different conversations around AI. And you see all these common themes coming out where everyone's like, hey, we're deploying ROI, we're deploying AI, we're not really getting any ROI from it. And when you dig in and you find out what people are actually doing, it's because they're not reinventing business. I mean, they say they're transforming, but to be honest, it's a little bit like when people said they were doing digital transformation, a lot of digital, not much transformation. This is what we've got now, a lot of AI, no transformation. And when I speak to people, it's because all they're doing is they're taking AI and they're using it to do what they could already do. It's like a really expensive version of RPA 2.0. So we're trying to get people to move out of that iterative concept of using AI into a more innovative mindset on how you use it.
Yeah, Brian, do you want to add anything to that?
The interesting thing about this is, while AI is an incredibly revolutionary technology, a lot of what Dave and I see has less to do with technology and more to do with leadership, thinking, imagination, culture of an organization, all of the things that, as you know better than anyone, hold the organization back from actually reinventing itself and confine it to that quarter-to-quarter iteration and efficiency gains.
You're right. I want to add something before we jump to Vala, because we have this notion that AI is going to give us automation, exponential efficiency, and that's great. But what we're missing is the fact that you've got more at-bats. And you've got the ability to create force multipliers. I mean, this is something a friend says to me all this time. It's like, I can beat any grandmaster in chess. Just give me 2 moves for every one. This is like 10 moves for every one. And that cycle compression is the one people are missing. It's like, you can leapfrog people. You can rethink things. And they're all like, oh, automation, AI. I'm like, retread your freaking process over again? Like, what's wrong with you?
Right.
So, all right, Vala, all you, sorry.
No, those are powerful words you said, Ray, all of you. It's automation. It's not scaling effort, it's scaling judgment. And that recursion you talked about, Ray, I almost saw your hand do this. Automation versus recursion. Like, most people don't quite understand what we're experiencing. But the core premise of the book is that most organizations are still treating AI as a tool, and it's aimed at cost-cutting, efficiency, fluency. And both of you argue boldly that that's the fastest path to irrelevance, treating this technology as just a tool. And so in the book, your core premise is introduction of this concept of infinite company.
Yes.
And Infinite is the title of the book. By the way, I love it. Talk to us about what is an infinite company, and how do you guide CEOs? And I say CEOs specifically because I don't think this is something you delegate. How do you guide CEOs to become infinite companies?
You start, Brian.
All right.
Who came up with the title, by the way? I know co-author is a hard thing, man. You get in a room and you got two smart people, and
Dave came up with it. I remember we had Dave. You mind if I share the story real quick?
No, sure.
So the original title of the book had an A in front of it, so AI Infinite. So I thought it was clever, but no one could pronounce it. They weren't sure.
It's like NVIDIA with East Coast people calling it NVIDIA. I had to deal with that yesterday. I was about to go crush people. I'm like, shut up! It's NVIDIA, not NVIDIA. Anyway.
And so I remember the exact moment when Dave came up with Infinite, because we had come up with all these alternative titles. Yeah. I was boarding a plane in Florence, Italy, and Dave said, "Well, what about Infinite?"
And we were like, no, that must have gone. Someone's definitely written Infinite, but no. Wiley said no one's took it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So, there goes my title. I'm done.
Yeah.
And so
but it's so appropriate, because when I think of this technology, I think about nonlinear optionality that the technology gives you. It literally is infinite possibilities, unlike anything else I've experienced. So I think it's a brilliant title. Go ahead. Sorry, Ryan.
Oh yeah, thank you. An infinite company is one that I think to give you a shout out, Vala, boundless, right? It is a company that, if you think about how companies are approaching AI today, they're thinking from a linear process. So they're increasing efficiency, they're increasing productivity, they're cutting costs, but they're on this linear trajectory if they do everything right. Sure. And what we argue at Infinite is that if you start thinking exponentially, if you challenge yourself to not just think about what you can do better from yesterday, but what you couldn't do that wasn't possible yesterday, if you could start asking different questions, you take that linear path and then you create an exponential path as well. And the delta between the two is positive self-disruption. That is how we see companies creating this cycle, this infinite cycle, this infinity loop, if you will, where we break out chapter by chapter exactly how to become infinite. It's not a book about AI. It's not a theoretical book. It is an actual, we rolled up our sleeves, thought about it, did the work kind of book that makes your company infinite.
It's also not about like growing infinitely. I don't think that's a thing anymore. You know, we used to have, everyone was always struggling. Oh, this is going to be the next 100,000 person company. And now everyone's focused on RPE and looking at how much revenue is made per employee. So it's how do I do more with less, or how do I do more with the same? This is about how you use that technology to infinitely increase your capacity, but infinitely be able to move into new areas of business and maintain the relevance of your company. I think if you just like automate the crap out of everything, you just end up flatlining eventually and becoming irrelevant. It's much more interesting to do something you couldn't do with AI to do something you could do with something else.
Yeah, and I think our next guest is going to come on and remind us that this fast cognitive transfer and cognitive upgrade set of activities that are being done with humans and AIs may erode some of our capabilities as humans to maintain agency and focus on strategy, mission, core objectives. So I think a playbook, and those, you guys are talking to the fastest growing, most successful companies of all sizes. And so you have battle scars. This is a playbook that's built, again, like you said, Brian, not on theory, but actual practice, which I think a lot of our customers need, because we are living in unprecedented times. I can't think of any other technology in 30 years of my professional career that has so many gobsmack moments I have. Like, we're in labs, we see this stuff, and sometimes we see this stuff months before anybody else, and excited and afraid at the same time of the innovation velocity.
Not that this happened to any of you. It's not, you'd be like, Joe braked again? Like, how'd that happen? No, I'm just kidding. but you guys are right here. I mean, think about this. Like all of us in this room have basically seen these leaders try to figure out, is there a playbook? Can I get it from McKinsey? Can I get it from BCG or Bain? Like we predict a third of the CEOs today are going to be gone by the end of 2027 because there's no playbook. They're going to leave on top while they can. And you talk about the fact that leaders can't automate their way to innovation or cut their way to growth. And they're all getting it wrong right now. So what do they have to do differently? I mean, is it a frame shift, a mind shift, a change in terms of what the expectations is? And how do they communicate that to their boards who, I'd say, I'm not saying age is the factor, but most of them are not exposed to this level of change. I mean, the scaling is 100x, 1,000x. It's not like, oh, we got a 20% improvement. Great, guys.
Yeah. I think so Brian's got some great stories around some of the CEO meetings he's had when those conversations have come up. But for me, the thing the CEOs need to do is they need to stop asking how they're going to deploy AI, and they need to start asking why they're going to deploy AI. So everyone's going in at the moment, looking at what they've got, putting AI on the top of it, automating it, doing it faster. And then your only ROI model at that point is, are you going to remove people from the equation? As opposed to going in and saying, well, I'm going to communicate from the top down what our end business goal is. I am blown away by the number of people I go to and I say, what's your AI strategy? And their AI strategy basically boils down to, we're going to implement AI. As opposed to, wouldn't it be nice to have a target that you wanted to achieve and you were using AI to get there?
Voila, we're going to use the internet.
So we're going to use connected.
No, but in the book, Dave and Brian, what's CEO decisions that they must own. I thought the first one was CEOs have to decide what AI is before deciding where it goes. Yep. So understanding the why at the core, you have to, like, I have to say, many executives, not just CEOs, they don't quite know the capabilities. They don't quite understand the technology yet.
But most companies as well have built these workflows over decades, based on a scarcity of resource. The fact that they had a limited number of people, you had to do things a certain way. Now, if you're given like unlimited resources that can run 24 hours a day, the chances that those workflows are the optimal workflows in something where you've got this ubiquitous resource is almost zero. You should reinvent them.
I was going to say, there's no chance.
2 years ago, when Dave and I were thinking about what a book could be, we had come across a statistic from McKinsey's Quantum Black State of AI report that said that of the 25 attributes that they were using to measure ROI of AI investments, that the number one was reimagining a workflow from end to end with AI at the core. And that, building on what Dave said, if you're taking a workflow that was designed decades ago and you're now thinking about how it would be recreated for today with AI, you're shifting automatically from a vertical stack to a horizontal transformation approach. So everything, people, processes, data, systems. Now, we didn't stop there, because when you were talking, Ray, about there not being a playbook, there is one now. It's called Infinite. And what we did was we took one workflow to figure out how you would reimagine it end to end, so that we could then build on that. So everything that we're talking about for an infinite construct is there for you. But the thing about this is that you have to be ready to have this conversation. So I'd love at some point here for Dave to tell the story of about what do you do with time saved, because these are the types of conversations that we need to be having more of. So, for example, as Dave alluded earlier to, I was with about 75 CEOs and COOs over the course of an entire day in these very small, intimate groups where it seemed more like therapy than it did as a strategic executive workshop. And in every single one of those sessions, I heard a CEO say, I do not know what to do. I don't know the technology. I've never been confronted with anything like this before. And so as a leader, I'm not raising my hand saying, I don't know what to do. I am surrounding myself with people who are telling me or advising me what to do. And therefore, as the expert, we do these things, but what they're getting is what sounds like what they're supposed to do. And that's driven by the headlines. So iteration, cost cutting, the market rewards that activity, rinse and repeat. Whereas if a CEO says, I don't know what to do, what am I not thinking about? And I'll pass it over to Dave to share this story, because even in just this example of a conversation, I would argue that a CEO could not unsee or unhear what would just happen, and now would want to think differently moving forward.
Yeah, and go deep on this iteration trap, Dave.
So there's two elements of this, I suppose. The first thing is around positioning what all this brings you. So I did a presentation in Australia, maybe it was 2 years ago, and I met a guy called Tim Hogarth, and Tim was he was the CCO of ANZ at the time.
Yep.
So we were doing this session on stage together. There's like 3,000 people, and he'd injured his knee. So I hadn't met him before he walked on stage. So he comes on stage like on crutches, and I'm chatting to him in front of this audience, and I said, "What's your AI strategy then, Tim?" And he said in front of this audience, he said, "We don't want to let the dogs win." I was like, "This is brilliant. What the hell are you on about?" So I said, explain the concept. And he said, "I'm implementing AI across the enterprise. And all that's happening is everyone's saving 20 minutes a day, and they're just taking the dogs for a longer walk. So I'm spending millions of dollars, and the winners of this are the dogs." He said, "I want a way to concatenate this together." And that got me thinking in a different way. And this is a conversation I'll have with CEOs or even CIOs in companies. If you imagine you've got a 10,000 person company, and you use AI and you save half an hour a day for everyone. Now, unless you do something with it, they just take longer coffee breaks or walk the dog. But if you can concatenate that time in some way, that's the equivalent of 600 heads. So if I went to a CEO and said, "If I could give you 600 heads for free, what would you do?" That's the true confirmation of our transformation, because now they'll say, "Well, we build this new product we'd always wanted to do, or we'd move into this geography that we've always wanted to move into." Once you get that concept, then it's like, okay, well, how do we use AI to back you into that? And that's how you get out of this iteration trap of doing the same thing again and again.
That is so huge. I mean, everybody falls into that. Their boards tell them to do that. They spend their boat ride with some guy that, runs a big company that starts with a P, tells you like, "Hey, I can sell you AI." And you get like outcomes, but it doesn't look like software services, and you're still not sure what you've done. I mean, it's been crazy. I mean, this is really one of the big shifts. And so as you go from pilots and productivity, Dave, to intelligent workflows and agentic execution, what does it take, right? Is it the leadership vision? Is it, the fact that you've trained the AI workers or prepared them? Is it just you start a new co or move them from a new co from the old co? Like what's working?
It has to come from the top. And the whole company needs to know what's happening, because what you do in a lot of these cases is you automate within a silo. So let's say you go in and you automate. Let's say you automate some of your inside sales process. So you're using really basic generative AI. It's targeting customers. It's sending emails, having exchanges with them, trying to get meetings. And because of that, you save 25 heads in sales. What you might want to do at that point is say, well, we're going to move 5 of those heads to marketing and 20 of them to engineering. And unless the person running sales knows that you're doing that, they're like, "Whoa, what are you doing? These are my 25 heads. You can't move them somewhere else." So you have to have that direction come from the top. There has to be a vision. There has to be transparency so that everyone isn't scared they're going to lose the jobs. And there has to be a framework of trust. I find with AI, we live in like an Emperor's New Clothes age where someone deploys AI and everyone goes, "Oh, that's fantastic." Whereas all the subject matter experts are like, "That's not fantastic. That sucks." But I don't want to say anything because then I'll look like I'm a doomer. You have to build that feedback loop with a framework of trust where people can say, in this case, we actually don't need AI. Or in this case, AI is going to give us so much benefit. Or we've implemented it incorrectly in this area and need to think about it. You need that level of openness for it to work.
For those of you listening to Brian and David talk about this, I mean, you realize all of this conversation is around relational transformation, not a technological one. When Dave talks about a CRO having to budget for additional headcount because new heads are moved into her organization, or agree that some of the headcount due to efficiency gains now can go into becoming forward deployment engineers or marketeers or architects. Any of you who've ever owned a budget, and when it comes to shuffling, redeploying resources, restructuring finances, and then often agreeing to reskill new employees to do jobs that we had ignored in the past, this reclamation of value that Dave talks about is a superpower of AI, because you will have your bench starting to fill with people because the work is now being done by agents. You have unlimited digital labor, as Dave said. This is emotional, tough stuff. And if you're not a team that, and you're not a team because you work together, you're a team because you trust, respect, and like each other. Like, there has to be an element of trust and likability. This is tough stuff. So, Brian, in the book, you guys talk about, a shift from org charts to work charts. And by the way, there's no demand for average anymore. Like, this is amazing how you can actually measure outcomes. And in fact, we're pricing now based on outcomes. So the work that you do and the fact that you can deliver value at the speed of need is going to be measured and it's going to get noticed. Talk to us about this shift, this powerful shift from org charts to work charts.
One of the exercises that we went through was to understand how do today's leaders need to think about how they're approaching their work, and how then, as a leader, that work, as Dave said, starts from the top and rolls down. So what we realized at the beginning is, if you follow all the narratives, there's a reason why employees are scared, and there's a reason why students are booing commencement speakers who talk about AI, because the narrative it tells them that's how they should feel. And what we wanted to do was say, well, look, realistically, AI cannot do a job. AI can do tasks. Agents can do certain tasks. Agents can string together to perform those tasks. So let's just say in a ultra secure, perfect world that all works seamlessly. So now what we have to do is think about the human role, break that role into tasks, and reassemble everything between human and agentic capability. But now we also want to think about the human and AI from an augmented standpoint. We're not just taking off the repeatable stuff. We're now thinking about, okay, now you're now an agent manager, so this is your team. But now with AI, we're going to have you perform exponentially towards these outcomes now that wasn't possible yesterday. So we're reassembling this role now towards the outcome. And so once you start reassembling those roles towards outcomes, you're shifting from an org chart into this work chart. And you're also shifting, coming back from that vertical nature of working to a more horizontal nature of working. And what becomes, and so we get into the specifics in the book of how to do that and what it looks like, and then how the role of a CHRO, for example, starts to evolve in this new capacity. But that is the mind shift, to plug another book, in how we have to start thinking about breaking not just automation, but the iterative thinking. It's a natural to just think about, is it humans or is it AI? We saw that what happened with Ford, where they made that exact decision and then had to bring back those engineers because AI wasn't actually doing the job. And now it's a balance between human experts and AI, and they've increased performance as a result. So this is thinking towards outcomes, and that's where it all begins. Dave, I don't know if you wanted to add anything there.
I mean, I think you pretty much summed it up there. But the thing about having a work chart is you actually start to understand how value flows around the company. And I think the other thing that you see when you start to agentify processes in a company is, if you want a free audit, the best way to audit your processes is to try and agentify them. Because when AI gets to a point where it can't act, it just stops. A human will try and work their way around the process. They know it's broken, but they know how to get it, and they know Bob over there has got what they need to do it. But AI doesn't know that. So you start to find the holes in your process, and you also find out whenever you do, like when we used to do traditional tuning in the past, in the mid 2000s, when you remove one bottleneck, you find the next bottleneck. And I think as you start to identify, oh God, why can't I say identify? It's my life. As you start to identify certain components now, what that does is speeds up that components and starts to show the weak link in the next part of the process.
It really does. And it also reminds us how much work is yet to be done, because once you have multi-agents in the value chain, identifying the agents, implementing an OB on behalf of human model for audits and compliance and security, just that entire governance and security piece in a highly orchestrated multi-agentic workflow. This is Web 93. This is Web 94. We're super early, but moving faster than ever before.
Even the challenge though, if you think, let's say you build an agent that's a Splunk log analyzer, so you've got that agent and you know it works and you know what it does. Yep. But in a true agentic environments, you don't know how many other agents are using that agent, and if you change it, how many other workflows are you going to break? So yeah, the governance and security and compliance around all of this is critical.
It's interesting. I was at NVIDIA's Autonomy and Robotics Day yesterday, which is a big federal military event. And I could tell you that, you could have one agent, but when you have multiple agents or multiple autonomous systems running at the same time.
From multiple vendors, Ray, not just
from
your
multiple
agents.
vendors. It's going to be crazy.
And then open source and closed source. And I mean,
it is. And so we're realizing this thing, and I guess I'll put some snippets of my book out there, going from compliant execution to orchestration excellence is a wide range, right? You automate the deterministic and you improve the precision and the probabilistic. And that actually creates a very interesting challenge because, you're asking for ROI, but it's the wrong ROI. You guys talk about this and you introduced a new concept on ROI, which is return on intelligence. So what's this new metric CEOs and boards should really be thinking of? Because it's not the ROI they're used to.
No. Do you want to start that, Brian?
I'll start, but I'll start it and I'll align it with a case study that everybody knows. So return on intelligence is a way of thinking about the outcome first, not just as Dave says in probably every meeting. He'll ask a company, "What's your AI strategy?" and then he'll work his way around to helping them see that AI is not the strategy, but return on intelligence is now thinking about if I'm going to make this investment, this is the outcome I want to achieve, and the way of paying for that AI is not to cut heads. I'm going to think differently about what I'm going to do with the resources I've freed up in order to drive new value within the organization. So that's like at a very simplistic level what return on intelligence is about, but there's a whole formula in the book. But if we go to the now famous IKEA case study, which is how they invested in the Billy chatbot, which was 47% successful on deflection. You've got 8,500 agents who could potentially lose their job. In a normal automation environment, that's the outcome, but that's not really return on intelligence. That's just paying for your AI by cutting people. Instead, what they did is they studied the rest of the calls they couldn't deflect and understood that there was an opportunity for interior design services. And so they reskilled those 8,500 agents to provide interior design services, which added in its first year 1 billion euro of net new revenue, which increased the top line by 4%. And now what you have is return on intelligence. You have an investment strategy that looked for ways to redirect resources in a way that would create new value for the organization.
That's an awesome example. And again,
so true. It's so true.
Redesign a system, reskill your people, redeploy them, and then your finances will also get restructured if you do it in a smart way. It's difficult though. I mean, let's just all agree that we talk about a messy middle. All of us are in the business of helping these companies implement these incredible technologies. It's messy beginning, middle, and there is no end in sight because you're not driving towards a particular destination. So when you talk about a mindset, you talk about grit and optimism and a role of leadership, this is a heavy lift. Like there is no There's no magic button. There's no consultant or a company that's going to come and help you overnight become an infinite company. This is, and you got to get on the pitch. Like this is, you can't be watching from the sidelines. I tell my 3 kids, 22, 18, 16, you know, one of them out of college, 2 in high school. This is when you talk about data literacy, digital literacy, you need to understand this technology, because no matter what line of business, what industry, what company size you join, the expectation now, I know it's for your company and I know it's for mine, you better have some proficiency with this. This is not like cloud and mobile and social, where, you know, if you're an engineer, fine. If you're a marketing, fine. All employees will need to be comfortable using this technology. And
well, look at what you're seeing with engineering now, with like the token usage being part of the salary negotiation. I mean, who would have expected that 2 years ago?
That's unbelievable. Yeah. Well, I mean,
awesome.
for you know, when you're spending north of like 20 trillion a month, just give you some sense.
Is it adjusted for AI inflation? I don't think they did that.
The beauty of it is there are white papers being published almost daily on how to optimize token consumption, and there's some simple steps you can take to see massive reductions. Literally, I mean, we know this, but if you're stuck with that big bill, just do a little bit of reading, and you'll be surprised.
Yeah, we have a session on token anti-maxing at our conference. It'll be very fun to have.
It's important.
Hey, we're here with Brian Solis, co-author of Infinite, How Visionary Leaders Transform Today's Business and AI-Powered Companies, and his co-author, Dave Wright, the Chief Innovation Officer at ServiceNow. I think our next guest wanted to say hi before we take you guys off. So let me do that and bring John Nosta in to say hello. He had a comment he wanted to make, so I wanted to make sure he got his chance to say that. So yeah, what were you saying earlier, John?
Sorry, I got to take a call with Kathy Wood about Bitcoin, so I can't do this.
It's almost 80K, John. Kathy is going to be in a very good mood when you talk with her.
So, you know, just listening to Dave and Brian, I'm so fascinated by this idea of the exponential company and the infinite company. And, you know, we all have lived in the exponential world. We understand the mathematics. We talk about it in the context of a hockey stick. But if you look at today's adoption, particularly the adoption and transformation, we no longer see an exponential curve. We see it up. And that's very interesting to me, right? It just goes straight up. When ChatGPT launched, there's that famous chart that everybody retweeted, it went straight up. But we're looking at that in terms of gains across a variety of parameters. So what happens when something goes straight up? Well, if you think of math, right, you get a 0 in the denominator. The slope becomes infinite. And I think that's a very, very interesting sort of functional dynamic. Now, here's where it gets freaky, okay? Vala, I have a question for you. How many points on a circle?
How many what?
Points on a circle.
How many points on the circle? I don't know.
Yeah,
It depends on the diameter. I don't know.
How many, Ray? Anybody want to guess? Infinite.
I can't. It's infinite.
Right?
It's infinite.
Right.
It's totally
It's infinite. That's the
X equal
infinite
A
company.
is infinite too. So
Right.
X equals
But here's
alpha
my
is
question,
infinite, right?
okay?
So
Because we spend our time comparing company to company. And the infinite company poses a unique dynamic in the concept of theoretical concepts of math. If I have a circle, how many points on that circle? Infinite.
Infinite.
Okay. If I draw a bigger circle around that smaller circle, how many points on that bigger circle? Infinite.
infinite.
Is that a bigger
But
infinity?
technically, though, if you're drawing it, you would had started with a point. Just to point that out.
Okay, exactly. My point is that infinities lack comparison.
Yes.
Yes.
That they're different size infinite. So this is really interesting. When we talk about the infinite company, I think the game is changing here remarkably so. So that's my takeaway on this. I think you guys, it's the book to read without a doubt. And you know, infinite can be one in a curious way. So I just want to kind of throw in my whimsical observations here and then go run and hide.
Category of one.
Don't
You're
hide,
now
don't
in.
hide. You're next.
Dave, Brian, thank you so much for being on the show. We're going to take you off. We're going to focus in on John.
Thank you both.
Come back
Congratulations.
anytime. We'll
Thank you.
see you in the green room if you're still around. So, all right.
10
Thank you.
bestsellers. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay, we only bring big brains on the show, and John is a first ballot Hall of Fame inductee to Disrupt TV. John Nosta, John Nosta, author of The Borrowed Mind: Reclaiming Human Thought in the Age of AI. The book was just published a few months ago in mid-April. John is the founder of Nosta Lab and writes digital self column at Psychology Today. Generally regarded as one of the leading thinkers on what happens when artificial computing meets human cognition, John has advised organizations, small organizations from like Google Health to the WHO.
Never heard of them. Never heard of them.
Yeah.
Me neither.
John's new book, The Borrowed Mind, argues that borrowing intelligence even temporarily changes the mind doing the borrowing. Welcome, John, to Disrupt TV.
Thank you. We always have such fun when we get to talk, you know?
We do.
So
we do. Well, you
try
always
to stay
expand
on
our
topic.
minds.
Try
You
to stay
always
on.
expand our minds.
So
Well,
I
hey,
guess
you've
the
got a
question
lot
is,
of
what the hell is-
conversations here.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, what the heck is going on? You know, for me, it's I'm no longer interested in what AI does. I'm interested in what AI does to me. And
Great
to
point.
me,
Let's talk about
that is
anti-intelligence to kick it off. I mean, you talk
Yeah,
about
well-
anti-intelligence. You coined this term sometime back. I
Yeah.
mean, what does it mean? I mean,
you know, people think when I say anti-intelligence, they mean AI bad. You know, it's like, oh, it's not, it's bad. It's anti-intelligence. No, that's completely wrong. Maybe the best analogy here is antimatter, where we have an electron has an antimatter component that's called a positron, and it's different. And that's my premise. AI is not better. AI is not worse. It's different. It actually exists at right angles. In other words, we have a x-axis where intelligent lives, and then we have this other axis that is antithetical or even orthogonal. That's why when we kind of look at AI and say, well, AI now has an IQ of 147. I think that we're measuring the wrong thing. Human cognition and AI computation are functionally different. We have a lived experience. We have a sense of time. We have a chronology. If a doctor makes a mistake and a patient dies, that doctor lives with that experience throughout her life. When AI tells me to eat the mushroom and I die, it quickly comes up and says, would you like me to give you another list of mushrooms? You know, it has no sense of time or the lived experience. That's why I think it's important for us to recognize that they're different. And one way of looking at it, simply put, is why do we have two eyes? We have two eyes that gives us something called parallax vision. And that parallax vision allows us to see depth perception. It lets us drive a car, it lets us catch a baseball. The ability to see the same thing through different perspectives is what optimizes our experience. And I believe that AI, because it's computationally different, allows us to see a world that's combined with our lived experience. It's actually parallax cognition. That's why I think anti-intelligence is an expression of why it's different. Look, what does an apple look like to AI? To us, it has three spatial dimensions. It has linguistic associations like Apple computer, an apple a day, keeps the doctor away, but there's not a heck of a lot of stuff there. An apple, when pushed into an LLM, when tokenized, if you will, lives in a vector space that is 12,288 dimensions. In today's newer frontier models, that's actually upwards around 25,000 dimensions. What the heck does that mean? It's meaningless. That's the point. The most complicated theory in human mathematics today is string theory. String theory lives in 11 dimensions, and it's beyond the perception of most mere mortals. How can we understand something in 25,000 dimensions? The point is that AI computation is functionally different. This hyperdimensional reality is a strange, odd thing. And our lived experience, our sense of time, is a strange thing too. And they exist not on the same line. They exist at right angles to one another. the same way the imaginary axis is developed in math. If those of you remember the square root of -1, it makes people flip out. But there are practical aspects to this. So anti-intelligence is not demeaning. It's not condescending. It's that AI intelligence, which I don't like, is actually antithetical to the human lived experience. And we should be thinking about these two things as functionally different, not better, not worse. And when we look at that, I think it makes sense a little bit, because there's no battle for AI to destroy humanity, or for AI or humanity to outthink AI.
How are you using AI to pressure test or sharpen your thinking versus what most people are doing, which is outsourcing their thinking to a language model? What advice do you have? We're parents.
Yeah.
What are we telling our kids when? And we just saw a report in The Economist that students in China improved their grades on their homework by 18%, and they could achieve the time to complete the homework assignment much faster and better grades. But then when they took the test, they had a -20 point decline. Right. So it looks like there's a whole generation. And by the way, this year, college graduates of 2026 had 4 years of language model experience for the first time ever, from the ChatGPT moment in 2022 to present day. So you've got a generation of workers who may have transferred or outsourced their thinking to language models for now 4 years. And now they get hired, hopefully with good salaries, and they realize they don't have that critical thinking. They don't have that sharp lens to actually get the work done. So how do you advise people?
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Because I think ultimately what this comes down to, believe it or not, is a human rights issue. A human rights issue. Do you guys like to think? I don't think there are any two people in the world who enjoy thinking more than you guys. When I see you guys on TV at keynotes, you think. You traverse the path from A to B, across the bumps, across the trials, the tribulations, the aha moments, and the discoveries that make your life valuable to us and to you. Thinking is a uniquely human experience. And I think that we're walking away from it so quickly. We're deferring thinking. It's like we're deferring eating the ice cream. We're deferring having the fun of life. And I think what's happening here, and I'm going to get to that data because that's really interesting. It's like up and then down. The battle here is between iterative intelligence. In other words, our ability to use a large language models to iterate, to think, to engage is extraordinarily powerful. But on the other hand, we have the problem of cognitive surrender. In other words, just tell me what the third derivative is of e to the x. Now that's I'm doing a lot of math today, guys. I apologize.
Yeah.
So I can tell you that
for like a Gaussian distribution of
the tail is going away. Let's do that later, because what's happening with AI is there's no tail. The Gaussian distribution is being pushed.
Wow.
And you know what? The tail is where Einstein lives. The tail is where Tesla lives. The tail is where innovation. So Gaussian distribution is, but here's my point. I can tell you that the fifth derivative or third derivative of e to the x is e to the x, right? You have the answer. Who cares if you don't know how to get there? And what happened in that study is kids were answer seeking, right? They were searching for the answer.
Yep.
And they got the answer quickly. Then when they were tested on the answer, they didn't know how to do it. They didn't know how to get from A to B. They couldn't traverse that cognitive landscape. Now, my argument is that cognitive landscape is not work. It's joy. And somehow people are missing that point. The interesting thing about AI, if you use AI correctly, it doesn't get you the answer faster. It gets you the answer slower, but you emerge a better person because you've learned. So that's where I would go with that.
And
it's a lot
time for a math tag joke. What did the Z distribution say to the T distribution? You may look like me, but you're not normal. Anyways, next.
I like that. Anyway, I guys, I think that this is
really a dad joke.
This is
a smart dad joke.
You know what? There's a thing in health called activities of daily living. And what
Yep,
it means
ADL.
is it's not what your blood pressure is, not what your blood sugar is. It's, can you wash yourself? Can you eat? Can you take care of yourself? ADLs. Well, in today's world, I think we need to create ADTs, activities of daily thinking. We have to make sure that we are thinking. You know, you don't lose it, you don't use it, you lose it. And I think that we know that older people who live alone, who have no cognitive engagement, don't do as well. Well, let's extrapolate that backwards to you and me. If we don't think, right? Doesn't happen. Look, 3,000 years ago in the Upanishads, it was written, as you think, so you act. As you act, so you become. We need to think. And deferring thought to the machine, okay, sometimes that's good. You know, sometimes that makes sense, right? Sometimes I want to take the car somewhere because it's efficient, it's expedient. Sometimes I want to walk because it's good for me, and I actually enjoy the walk in nature out here in the Pocono Mountains. These are critical things, and we're not thinking about that effectively. So,
John, you mentioned human rights. There's only 30. Are you forecasting that at some point government leaders, regulators will recognize AI is a human right? That without it,
no. Thought is a human right.
Okay, how do you put a framework around that? Like, how do you? I looking at just the gap that keeps widening in terms of wealth. It feels like if you don't have access to AI, you don't have right healthcare, you don't have right education, you don't have the right work opportunities. It feels like affordable access to AI should be a human right.
Yeah, you know, this again, you know, we're trying to get this down to a soundbite. I wrote an article for Le Economista in Mexico. And we looked at this, the have and the have-nots, because I think that's very interesting. The haves in terms of business and growth and development are often brick and mortar dynamics. In other words, if you don't have the capital to build the factory, you can't do it. But in today's world, we have a different kind of capital. That's our cognitive capital. So number one, with respect to the have-nots, the penetration of the smartphone into sub-Saharan Africa is now at what, 98%?
Yeah, that's the only thing they got.
Banking.
But they have access to technology, and I think that's the first step in the transformation process. So, is it the 31st right? You know, is it like our data? You know, Richie Atuaru talking about that
Yes.
right, that kind of thing.
Humanity.co.
Yeah, and maybe, but I just think that there's something that we're walking away from that is intrinsically human, and maybe it's bigger than a right. Maybe a right is too small a box to put this in. It's what makes us happy, right? It gives us meaning. When someone has Alzheimer's disease and you look at them, you don't say their brain isn't working. You look at them and say, I don't see them anymore. I don't see themselves. They've lost their self. And I think this is similar. Now, again, I'm not anti-technology by any stretch of the imagination. I think that technology is the single greatest innovation, AI, in mankind. Now, I want to go back to this issue of people being frightened, because I think that this is a very natural manifestation of where we are today. We always know that innovation has a duality of wonder and fear. That's the coolest thing I ever saw, and boy, I'm worried about it. Look at the driverless car. That is the coolest thing but hey, I'm not getting in that, right? Let's go back to our first technology, what I would argue is fire. Fire could cook you dinner, right?
Yeah.
Could let you migrate, stay up late. It can also kill you. You could use it as a weapon. I could burn my enemy's house down. So fire had with it a duality of wonder and fear. Interestingly, today, the single biggest cause of property damage in the world is still fire. It didn't change, which is kind of freaky.
We need to ban fire. It's just evil.
That's it. No more fire, right? But here's the point, okay? Innovation has this sort of obsolescence that comes along, right? And what we're seeing today is if something is obsolete, you throw it away. Your washing machine, your smartphone, whatever it is. For the first time in history, human cognition itself is on the obsolescence chopping block. And I think that's
that's a big statement. That's a big statement. That's a big statement.
You know, at first we had cognitive surrender. Then we had emotional surrender. Now we have existential surrender. So I think that
Yeah,
these
people
are
are stopped thinking. People have stopped thinking. I'm really worried about that.
But isn't it sad? I mean, don't you like to think?
You know, I worry about this. Like both Vala and I have the luxury of having full self-driving. And I mean, I zoom on there. I don't even look down anymore. I trust it fully like a robo-taxi.
You know what's amazing, Ray, is I was in San Francisco 2 weeks ago. 2 years ago when I was in San Francisco, anytime you saw a Waymo or a Zoox or a Cybercab, there were people taking cameras.
Yeah.
You know, 2 years ago, you only read about it in ARK Invest trajectory of robo-taxis being a $20 trillion market. Now you go to San Francisco and the traffic backup is Waymo behind a Waymo, behind a Waymo, behind a Waymo.
Yeah, because they all drive speed limit. I mean, it's horrible. They're all driving speed limit.
No one is taking pictures anymore. It's norm. It's norm.
It is.
These 800 cars have surpassed 45,000 Lyft drivers in California. They're now delivering 1.4 million rides a month, 10 million miles a month.
Here's the problem here. That interestingly, and I was in Mexico City with FSD. Talk about a crazy city, right? And it was perfect. It was absolutely perfect.
It's the only time anyone follows any traffic regulations, you know?
It's like,
it is perfect.
the car started talking to me in Spanish. I didn't know what to do. But so here's one of the interesting things that emerges from the engagement with technology, and that's AI rebound, which I think is a really interesting thing. We see it in a Tesla, but we also see it in medicine. The first study that really looked at this was with doctors who used AI to do colonoscopies. Their skill went up 30%, whatever it was. And then a week later, when the technology was not available, when they went to another hospital that wasn't using the same technology, their skill did not fall to baseline. It fell below baseline. So what's going on there? So when I drive my 2009 Audi, and I've got none of the bells and whistles, right?
Love Audis.
Right?
I bet it's an S5 convertible, but anyway, go ahead.
No, it's an A4. It's an old A4, four-door A4. but when I
just dropped off our 2008 A6 Avant to my daughter. So yeah.
When I drive a Tesla with FSD, and then I get into my Audi, am I still a good driver? Am I a better driver? Actually, I believe I'm a worse driver because of the AI rebound effect. So I think we're seeing a real concern here that AI lulls us into a false sense of superiority. Here's the point: when you ask the doctor how well they did, they score themselves 30% higher. They still think they're as good. So there's a false sense of confidence here. It's a Dunning-Kruger kind of effect, if you will. But there's real interesting things with AI that
you think they're better than intuitive surgical. Wow.
Well, I'm not going to. That's the Elon Musk article, right? How many years will it be before all surgeons are eclipsed by robotics? I tend to believe that.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting? What will we do if we actually lose our digital capabilities? Will anybody know how to do anything manually? Or
Ray, that's a question that comes up time and time again. What happened when Deep Blue beat the Russian chess master? What happened when? Well, let me finish now because I want to push on this a little bit. What happened when Brady started taking pictures during the Civil War? Right? What happened when technological innovation comes? The circle of innovation expands. The pizza is not cut into smaller pieces. The circle grows. So chess, even though AI beats humans without a doubt, chess has never been more popular.
Sure.
Photography did not destroy portraiture. It invented industries like the selfie industry. In fact, portraiture grew. So what do we do is a tricky question because I argue the circle of innovation is expanding in the context of technology.
Sure. No, that's a great analogy.
So our topic area TAMs have to improve.
Yeah.
I mean, think more mind expansive if you can.
Yeah.
John, congratulations on the book. And again, thank you for expanding our minds.
This is an amazing book. Definitely check it out. It's going to be more and more relevant. John, we should catch up. John Nosta, author of The Borrowed Mind, Reclaiming
real quick,
Human Thought.
One thing, real quick. The book has 3 sections. The promise, right? Big promise with AI. The peril, the problem, right, and the path forward. And I think we got to look at it in that triad, and that's the book.
Well, John, I actually want to invite you to come out to CCE. We might do a little snippet of the book if you want to do that. Let me know. It's our conference, October 26th through 29th, Half Moon Bay, Ritz. It's our 16th annual, and you'd be a great addition to our conversations in the morning on the first day. So
love it.
I will follow up with you. So, all right, this is awesome. Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Wow.
This could have been 3 hours.
I've been traveling. It really could have. First of all, the fastest hour of my week. It always is. But I've been traveling the last 2 weeks, and I missed that.
I've missed you. I've missed
my brain just, on overdrive, stuck in fifth gear. That was amazing. I'll be watching this show this weekend because there was a lot. Brian and Dave and John dropped lots of wisdom nuggets for us to consider. Next week, we have a bit of a milestone, our episode 450. It's taken us nearly 11 years to get to 450 episodes. And we decided, why not celebrate 450 with two CEOs and another best-selling author. So Dave Rhodes, CEO of Verint, will join us. And then another Dave, because there's a lot of CEOs named Dave. Dave Donatelli, CEO.
He's a
of
multi-CEO. He's a multi-CEO.
Yes. And Ron Friedman, author of Super Teams: The Science and Secret of High Performing Teams.
I've been reading that. It's actually pretty cool.
So. Yeah, two CEOs and a Super Teams author will be episode 450. We thank you for watching. If it's Friday, it's DisrupTV. Send us your guest recommendations, and Elle, our producer, Ray, and I will do our best to get the best and brightest to come on and share their wisdom with us. We'll see you next Friday.
Only a few episodes left to the end of the year. It's gonna be crazy.
I know.
And then you and I have to decide.
yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, we've got. This is the once a year that Ray and I have our UFC match, which is picking the best books of the year. And I think we are more than 70 authors that have been on the show this year. So we're going to have a really tough time. But it's also a great time to recognize incredible talent, including the three guests that were on the show today. Anyway, we'll see you next Friday, everyone. Bye.
Bye.